Hey, this is Dylan Fry, the real estate guy. Welcome to the YouTube channel. We're going to be doing one of our Everyone Needs a Guy interviews. And today we've got Chad Earhart with Chad Earhart Coaching. He is a speaker, trainer, and a coach. So he's going to be able to help you make sure he's kind of the time management guru. So if you're looking to move into the Kansas City area, buying a house is extremely stressful. And you're trying to make sure that you're managing that and everything. I think he's going to be a good resource for everybody. So I brought him on here. We're going to get into that. But before we do, if this is your first time to the channel, make sure you hit that follow button and then hit that little bell so you'll get notifications of future interviews as well as future neighborhood videos and future tip videos on buying real estate in the Kansas City area. So today we have Chad Earhart with Chad Earhart Coaching. Chad, tell us a little bit about your business and how you help people and a little bit about how you got into it.
Okay. I help, my main focus, I'm broad, we can start broader, but entrepreneurs, and people, right? We always help people. But as I get a little bit more focused in, I've been helping physicians, practitioners, and entrepreneurs be able to get 10 hours back of their life, and then to achieve their 1-year goals.
Okay.
And so, in the medical world, especially, it's very stressful. It's like do more for less, more for less, more for less. And, and most people don't realize that physicians have it's one of the highest rates of suicide.
Oh my gosh.
So, there is a lot of stress. And so I'm really good at helping people, that are intense, learn to be able to de-stress, know what they really want, get clarity about that, and then be able to achieve whatever that is. And that seems very broad, but if you don't know what you want, you're not going to hit it. So that's where we always start, is getting very clear about a person's vision and their motivation. And I could talk about all kinds of research behind it, but I won't do that.
Well, and that's one thing that I think is huge for anybody, whether it is physicians or it's somebody just buying a house. If you don't have a clear plan and you don't have it wrote down, it's never going to happen. It's basically a wish until you put it actually on paper and you build a plan to get there. What are you actually looking for? You're just like, hey, this would be awesome to have this.
Exactly. Hope is not a plan.
Correct. Yeah. And it's really hard to get there if you don't have one.
Well, and thinking about people, it's like they're going to, that people, do they know even what kind of house they want? Do they know what kind of community they want to be in, right? I mean, just as something as simple as that makes a big difference. So I always start in coaching with, what do you want? And most people never take time to answer that question. They just kind of go out and throw Jell-O on the wall, hoping it will stick somewhere.
Or it's somebody else's want. I see that a lot with, especially in the real estate industry, where people are like, I want to be successful. Well, what does success
look like mean
to you?
Yeah.
Is it more money? Do you want more money? Because if you want more money, I can tell you how to make more money. But do you want to have more time with your family? Because that's another huge thing.
Yeah. Jim Rohn says time is more valuable than money.
Correct.
Because you can get more money, but you can't get more time.
And I think that's huge. So tell me a little bit, how did you get into this? So now you're you're time management guru. So you're teaching people how to make their time worth more money. Mm-hmm. So how did you get into that?
So, oh boy, I have spent first of all, leadership, is a big piece of this. So you're learning to lead your time, right? You're learning to lead then yourself, because there's really no such thing as, money you can manage because you can have more of it. Time you can't. It's just there and gone. So really it's kind of a misnomer to say there is time management. It really is more life management.
Okay.
But we call it time management, which is fine. And I found myself frustrated that I was very busy, but not achieving things. And feeling like a loser dad in many ways, trying to be successful, whatever that is, and not actually getting there. And, you can go somewhere really fast. You can go nowhere fast, maybe is the way to say it, right?
Correct.
And so there's a difference between efficient and effective. And so effective means that you're actually accomplishing something. Efficient, you can efficiently go off a cliff. Right?
It's true.
So you really want to be effective and efficient, right? You want to be effective and then become more efficient at it. But most of us are just like, we're just really busy. We're all really busy. And so I was doing that, and I got so frustrated that I finally said, enough is enough. I'm going to start paying people to help me. And probably there were several times, now, especially in leadership, I've been a leadership researcher, studier, doer, like most of my life. Okay. So I've studied way much on, I'm certified through John Maxwell. So John Maxwell is a leadership guru. He's probably written more on leadership than anybody ever in history. Yeah. Which is crazy to think about.
It is crazy to think about.
But I mean, he's written on leadership every day for 50 years. And before leadership was even a thing that we used to talk about, honestly. I know it sounds silly, but it's true. I remember the days when we didn't have a lot of leadership books. Now there's too many. So anyway, I was just frustrated. And one of the first times for me, and this wouldn't seem like it's a time management thing, but I was in a nonprofit group that I was trying to help get volunteers to do things.
Correct.
And so that's a different level of leadership, right? And so I'm pulling some people in to lead. And I asked this person to do something, and then they didn't do it like I wanted. So then I pulled it back away from them. And they said they could do it, and I'm thinking, okay, cool. But then they couldn't do it. And so I had to fire a volunteer. And so that began my process of saying, okay, I need to do some things differently.
Yeah. Well, and volunteering is hard in general because trying to get people that have the same level of dedication, especially if you're leading a volunteer situation. My entire wife's entire family is volunteer firefighters. So they have that run in all the time. I mean, you volunteer, you got to show up to calls, different stuff like that. And you got to make sure that your people are there, and you've got to take it seriously because you have people's lives in your hands.
Absolutely.
And
physicians are the same thing. So,
yeah.
I mean, their lives, so it's a very stress induced environment, right?
Yeah. And where you're talking about, the only way that you can manage that too is you have to be able to delegate that and be able to lead people. And so being able to lead them through their own time and help them get further in that's huge.
Yeah. And so I have a thing called time management rocket fuel, and it's a very specific system from point A to point B, and being able to get from here to there, when it comes to getting more time back and when it comes to actually goal achievement.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that is one piece of it. And it's what I would call, that's my sixth step in the step of rocket fuel. And you have to go in the right order, but that particular step is knowing what to eliminate, knowing what to automate, and knowing what to delegate.
Correct.
Right? So it's like, do you know what to eliminate, and can you do it? Like, can you say no? Right?
Yeah, that's hard.
That's hard for some people. And the reason is because there's a lot of mindset stuff that's going on. So we have to deal with the mindset issues.
So talk to me a little bit. How do we get there? So that's step 6 in your process. Yeah. So walk me through what are the first things you're going to do with somebody if somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, I need you to get my life on track."
Okay, so either the first step is actually that we'd have a conversation and let me find out where you are and what your what's the frustrations that are going on in your life, and then what are your real desires and passions and goals. And that's where we would start. And then I will figure out whether it's even a fit. And if it's not a fit, then I won't even help you, right? I might guide you in the right direction and things like that. But if it is, let's say this is a perfect fit, and let's help me figure this out. So if that's the case, then I have a 9-step process, or you could say 3 steps. The first step is how to lead your time. Okay. And so we would talk through that. And then the second is on how to lead yourself, because we are our own worst enemy often. We can tell everybody else what to do, but we don't always know how to actually do it. I just heard somebody on the radio this morning just say this very thing. He goes, I'm great at telling everybody else really good advice. I'm just terrible at doing it.
Correct.
Right. And that's most of us. So we need a certain amount of accountability. We also need a certain amount of someone that can see what we can't see, the blind spots that are keeping us back, that keep us doing the same thing, expecting different results, right, which is insanity. And then finally, there's leading your work or leading your business. And so those are kind of the 3 steps. And the very first one is what I call 20/20 vision and why process. And that's just the starting point.
Yeah.
You know, if you aim at nothing, that's what you're going to hit. So we've got to figure out what you really want. And once we figure that out, once you get some clarity, and a lot of people, they dream way low. I often say, how come you're not going to add a 0 to that, right? But because most people have been hurt so much, or they have lost their trust in, you know, everybody says, oh yeah, all this great ideas. But because they've never, that you have to think in reality, because there is a difference between a dream and a fantasy. And most people are living in fantasies. So we play the lottery.
Correct.
Versus, you know, in reality, which is, you know, truth will set you free. Facts are your friends. So we have to live in those worlds. We have to live in that world, but it doesn't matter what it is once you start. So you have to start at the start. I mean, we look around, I mean, you can't, you know, I don't know what people can see in here, but there's all kinds of cool technology. All of that started with a thought.
Yes. Yeah. It all started in Dane. I've had him on before, and when Dane started, they originally started in his basement. And he had a dream, and he knew what was missing in the space. He set up a plan and said, hey, I want to go find this and make sure that I can accomplish this goal. And now it's taken off.
I mean, seriously think how amazing that is. Like, this microphone started with a thought.
Correct.
A computer, the internet started with a thought.
It all starts with, and
that's all it starts with.
And then you have to, once you do that, one of the biggest things that I think is people have to, once you have a thought, then you have to build out that plan. And then once you've built that plan, you have to execute that plan. Yes. Because if you don't do anything and you just are constantly saying, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be a millionaire, I want to do these great things in life, and then you don't do anything to accomplish that or do anything to set that goal up, and you're not helping people, because I think that's one huge thing is if people really want to make it, figure out how you're going to help people, how you're going to add value to people's lives. And if you can do that, then you're going to be successful, because you're constantly, if you help people and you add value to their life, they're going to refer you, they're going to help you, they're going to want to see you accomplish your goals and everything like that. And that's what me doing these podcasts, it all came with a thought of, hey, I want to be able to connect to people with different people in the area and see the different variety of things that are offered. You talked about it just there. When you first interview people, you're talking about, is this a good fit for you? Well, the reality is not everybody's a good fit with everybody. So my goal with this is to open people up to different realities. There is different things out there that Kansas City offers, and they can go find somebody that does mesh well with them in different industries that's going to help them accomplish their goals.
That's great. That's great, Dylan. That's so good, because that is the core. That's what love is adding value to people, right? And not about yourself. It's about helping others. It's seeing others. It's seeing value in others, right? That's amazing. And a lot of people don't get that. It's all about themselves. And so that's a key component. I think it's Zig Ziglar used to say that if you help enough people get what they want, you can have everything that you want in life, something like that.
Correct.
Right? And so that's what I'm hearing you say.
Yeah, and that's something that I've focused on to live by, is help everybody get what they want, and good things will come. It's karma. It just comes back around. So with that being said, what are some big things as you're walking people through this journey, other than them figuring out what their why is? What are some things that they could put in place to help them start to manage their time better? What are like the top 3 things that you think are huge for people?
So yeah, I would say, well, first of all, have a good plan. So that's why, what we tend to do first of all, let's try to figure it all out ourselves. That doesn't ever work. I mean, eventually, it may work eventually, but okay, now it's time to retire.
I struggled with that for a long time.
Yeah, it's so easy, right? It's like, you don't want to look bad. You don't want to think, I don't want to be a person that's like, well, not looked at like you don't know something, right? But everybody has to learn by failing.
Yeah.
That's how you learn to walk. And it's been ever since. As long as you learn from it, we don't want to keep doing that, right? But as long as you're learning from it, it's a good thing. So, I used to want to be the top person in the class. I now I don't want to be the top person in the class. I want to be learning. I want to be around people that know more than I do.
I heard somebody say last week on a podcast, I think it was on Bigger Pockets, real estate podcast. And she was talking about how she used to want to be the smartest person in the room. And now she doesn't. Like, she's like, I do not like walking into rooms to where I'm the smartest person because I'm not going to learn anything.
It's so weird. I don't know what it is. What is it about that? We always feel like we don't want to look stupid, I guess. And yet that's how we stay stupid.
Well, it's ego. I think ego plays a huge part into it is people don't know how to lower that ego a little bit and let other people teach them some stuff. I've had a lot of times. You see that in every industry. Mm-hmm. When I was in insurance for a while, I had people that were older than me that were like, you got to calm down, young buck, and different stuff like that. And I'm like, hey, I'm just trying to teach you some new ways. And there's different stuff that like they were able to teach me. And that's one thing I've always tried to do is be a sponge. So if you're talking to somebody, pick something out of it that you can add value to your life. Mm-hmm. And always be self-reflecting. And if you are, then you're going to be able to help a lot more people because you're going to change your attitude based on your things that you've ran into, hiccups that you've had.
Yeah, I'm sure that you learn a lot from these podcasts, right? I mean, mm-hmm. You put yourself in a learning environment, right? So that's great. I love that. I'm always wanting to figure out how to get more, be a sponge. I love the way that you said that. That's for sure. I would say though, to answer that question more than just, for sure the plan and humility, obviously that's a big part of it. In the plan, what I notice a lot of people don't see is the unseen. So in other words, Carl Jung says, unless you make the unconscious conscious, it will run your life and you will call it fate.
Okay.
It's pretty deep.
Yeah.
Okay. But what it means is we have beliefs going on. And if we're not aware of those, that will run us. So I might, I call them limiting beliefs or limiting barriers. I'm too young to get that house. I'm too old to get that house just as easily, or to start that business, or whatever it is that we would like. We immediately have
something somebody else is ingrained into.
Oh yeah. Starts young, and I won't even go into that whole, there's so much research on that I'll share just one little story on this, but the concept is like up through the age of 6 to 9 or so, we have these beliefs that go into our unconscious. And let's say I have a brand new granddaughter, and her name's Nora. She's a Norable. And so the other day, she's swinging, and so she falls. And as soon as she does, she looks up at Mom, right? And it's just like, now if Mom goes, "Are you okay?" Right? She starts going, "Wah!" Right?
Yeah.
I must be, something's wrong, right? And if instead Meg just says, "It's okay," she's like, "Oh, okay." And she goes on, right? But those little things we're finding they get into our unconscious and subconscious, and then our brains are just figure outers, and They're just doing their thing, right?
Correct.
And then I drove here without thinking about it. That's crazy, right? But that's what our brains do. So much is unconscious, unthinking. And I had one of them in my life, I didn't realize it was there until my 30s, and it was, I'm not enough. And so I'm just like, I'm working hard, trying to make sure I'm enough. And I'm burning out because I never took time to figure out what was behind all of that stuff, driving it.
Why you feel that way.
Yeah. I also have a faith background. And so we even do this in God stuff. Like in my case, money is the root of all evil. Is it really? I think the Bible says the love of money, not money, right? And so it can cause us to go, oh, we want to avoid abundance.
Correct.
Right? Must be God's will. So, I mean, I grew up with a lot of these things, but when I also started looking at things or looking at the Bible, for instance, and it says, it's for freedom that Christ has set us free. And I'm going, how come I don't feel free? It's either, maybe it's not me. It's either something is wrong with the Bible and God, or else maybe it's something wrong with me. And I'm not trying to push my faith at all on you. I'm just saying that's what I grew up in.
Yeah. It was internal struggle that you had.
And yeah. And so until we do, I'm just telling you, that is huge. And if you don't have someone that can help you with, that's why a coach is so important. I think coaching is the single greatest way to help people change.
I think it's something that everybody should invest in. At any scale, level, or whatever you're doing, if you want to have success in life, find somebody that cares about it as much as you do, because coaches do. Like if you find good ones, and like you were talking about, where everybody doesn't fit with everybody. No, find somebody that's going to fit you.
Yeah.
If you're big into signs and figuring out what signs mesh well with each other, then go figure that out and find somebody that fits that model, because it's huge having support in your back pocket. Because that, you talked about your biggest clients are entrepreneurs and physicians. Mm-hmm. I would say those are two of the loneliest professions. Is somebody that's owning their own business. You can talk to 17 different people.
Absolutely.
And none of them actually realize what you're going through every single day, because you're trying to live up to an expectation, and you have to, I talked about it last week on our interview, is I had the president of he's not the president, he's the owner of the Kansas City North ACA Business Club. And he was talking about business owners eat what they kill. So
what? Eat what they kill. Oh, they eat what they kill.
So
gotcha.
You have to constantly be out there chasing the next thing. And you're constantly promoting your business, where in an employee situation, sometimes it's not the same mindset. And I think that's huge, is if you're in an entrepreneurial situation or physicians where you constantly have to be on the top of your game, you have to have somebody there that is encouraging you constantly, and also being able to break you down to say, hey, let's fix these few things because it's going to make you feel better.
Right. Yeah. And so some of that is the internal stuff, right? It's like you have to go through a cycle and be kind of held accountable to that to see it. And most of us don't. And so, and if you're an entrepreneur, it's freedom. That's my favorite value, is freedom.
Correct.
Right. I mean, so that's what we're after. And yet we have to have a certain structure to help us be free.
Correct.
And so it seems oxymoronic, and it keeps us frustrated. And so if you can have someone that can actually ask you the right questions, so that you can say, oh, that's why I'm doing that same thing, you can get better results. And then another thing I guess I would say is that they really need to make sure that they help you. A good coach is going to be someone that's going to actually have a very specific next step. Because usually we're all watching podcasts and reading and all of these things, and we think just because you have lots of learning doesn't mean you're actually doing anything with it, or it's a lot of wasted time.
Correct. Well, and here when I was in insurance, I had a guy come on. He came in and taught us his sales process. And somebody in the class was trying to be funny and came up and was like, so if your process works so great, why are you willing to give it to all of us and all of your competitors? And he said something that I've held on to ever since then. He said, well, because 80% of you it's going to go in one ear and out the other. So now 20% of you are actually listening to me. He's like, of that 20%, probably 5% of 5% of that 20% are going to go home and implement the processes that I'm talking about. Now, let's talk about the first month of you implementing these processes. Probably by the end of that, 1% of you are still doing the things that I talked about because the other ones ran into a struggle and went back to the old way of doing things because they're comfortable. And now that 1% of you that is still doing what I'm doing, they're seeing the rewards and they're doing everything else. Now they're out there telling everybody how awesome I am and I'm booked out for more of these things. Mm-hmm. And everybody else that may have been seen as competition isn't using my stuff. And that 1% is somebody that's not in direct competition of me. So when it gets down to it, I'm teaching you guys things that are going to work. And that 1% of people, I'm going to change their life. And I held on to it is be that 1% that is actually somebody that's going to take that and do it and then stick to it even when it gets hard. And everybody falls off the saddle, no matter what it is. They get uncomfortable and then they fall off and they stop doing things. Mm. And if you can train yourself to just get back on, whether it's I'm tracking this or I'm making this many calls, I'm doing this, when it comes down to, you got to figure out what your number is and what's going to get you to your goal. And then do that every single day and you will be there. I was I wanted to be an actuary originally. So numbers make sense to me a ton. Law of large numbers, making sure that I'm doing the exact same things because they're going to, where you said, if you do the exact same thing, it's going to produce the exact same results. Right. Yes. So figure out what works and just do the same thing.
Keep doing
over
that.
and over. And it'll work.
That's great. Yeah. That's my, actually that's my 9th step is the know your numbers process. And again, it really is in the order though. You have to work those limiting beliefs because in my head, my dad is a CPA. Mm-hmm. And I used to always say, my dad's a CPA. I'm not. I hate numbers. It wasn't in my gene pool. Yeah. And so I would just tell myself and then I had a coach say, how's that working for you? And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, darn.
I think that's one of the biggest.
I now say I love numbers, right?
Yeah.
And it's just one little shift. But now I'm like, I love numbers. You know, they help me know. I have a mentor right now, and he's like, my coach said, he looked at my numbers. He goes, make this one change. Don't change anything else this year in your business, but this one thing, and you will double your income. That's what knowing your numbers does.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, that's great. Facts are your friends.
Correct.
They're not my enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I had the mindset problem, so I couldn't do it. I didn't have what you had.
Well, and there's different things where you're talking about limiting beliefs. There's certain things to where I would tell myself that in the same situation that I was fighting battles that I didn't need to. Like one big thing was I was always the youngest person in the room. So I was like, hey, I got to be the smartest person in the room. And
good. That's one of those. Exactly.
And
that's a lie. I call it a lie.
Correct. And and I can't let anybody see any weaknesses because I'm the youngest person in the room. And at that point in time, I was big on that. Now I'm like, I'll give you my weaknesses. I'll give you my strengths. I'll do whatever I can to help you. And I'm honest. And when you get down to your core values of what you want to do, then you can be able to illustrate those to people.
Yeah. And I think you're talking about entrepreneurs are lonely and so are physicians or whatever. And a lot of us are. But what happens, I guess what I'm saying is we need a safe place where we can
be vulnerable,
figure that stuff out. Yeah. because otherwise we never will. And so we continue to not be vulnerable. So
Yeah.
kudos to you that you figured this out so young.
Yeah. Well, finding people that can help you is big, and even opening up to them it's still hard no matter who you are. I mean, that's why therapists make a good amount of money, is because it is, they have to continually pry you. I mean, I know even my coach, he constantly is mentor. He's constantly pulling stuff out of me and saying, hey, I need you to give me a little bit more. Okay, why are you saying that? Why are you saying that? Mm-hmm. Because if he doesn't, then I'm just gonna throw out certain things and say, yeah, well, I don't want to do this, and it ultimately comes down to I just don't want to do it.
Yeah. So and that's good, and a good coach, first of all, is going to keep saying, what do you really want? Because this is what it's going to take to get you there. Correct. But there are also times to say, do you need some rest? Or I don't want to. Oh, there's a reason why you don't want to. Well, let's figure that out. That's okay. I mean, right now, maybe that's okay.
Yeah.
And we're shaming on ourselves. Should. And that's another one. We could go off on that too. It's like, I think shame is a should word. Or should is a shame word. And that's not healthy. And we do that all the time on ourselves. I should go to that. I should do this. I shouldn't do that. So again, that's unconscious stuff. And until you deal with that, you're going to just keep on working harder, but not smarter.
I love
9 times out of 10.
I haven't heard that one that way before. And I do love that, because that is one thing that you hear all the time out of everyone. I should be doing this. Mm-hmm. Well, why aren't you doing it? And if it is something that you really believe you should be doing, and maybe it's something that you shouldn't be doing, like you just think, oh, because somebody else is doing it, that's the way to get you success. The thing is, everybody's success is different.
Their path is different. Yeah. I want to is different.
Yeah.
But I should.
Now it feels like I'm not living up.
Yeah. That's stressful.
Yeah. And I think that's a part of, I went to a conference a couple weeks back, which is actually how we ended up meeting, is because I ran into one of your friends.
Yeah.
And one thing that they focused on was not lying to yourself. If you constantly telling yourself you're going to do something and you're not doing it, you're going to start to not believe in yourself. And because now, how are you going to, and especially if you're in sales or entrepreneur, or you are in a situation where you have to encourage other people to believe in you, how can you do that if you don't believe in yourself? And you lie to yourself all the time. So why would you believe in yourself? Mm-hmm. And when you think about that, it's something you got to be cognizant of.
So I love to accomplish things.
Yeah.
It makes me feel good about myself. So that's why this process is so good. My goal would be for everyone that would be listening to this right now, wherever you are, to be able to have the kind of day that as soon as you wake up, you know exactly what you want for the day, and you do it. And at the end of the day, you pat yourself on the back for the things that you accomplished. And then instead of like numbing out on Netflix because you're so exhausted, instead you're like rewarding yourself. I mean, it's just such a different place. And I was the burnout, go, not enjoying life, thinking I was, that's a whole nother world. I used to only have 2 feelings. I had anger and happy, and it was usually fake happy. So now to be able to recognize, and that's the thing we kind of work through, is kind of, helping you connect with what do you actually want, right? And that's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. How to connect with other people and all of these things. But part of it's the time. So that's the third step, actually, is the time prioritizing power plan, is what I call it. And that's how you manage your time. So it's like, so you know exactly what you want for the week. You're putting some time blocks in. You're planning tomorrow today, so that you know what tomorrow is going to happen and what you're going to do. And then you're not doing way too many things for that week, so that you actually get stuff done.
Correct.
So that's a part. But again, That's one piece. And everybody thinks on time, that's the thing. They want the little magic bullet on how to make their time better. And that's good. But if you don't have the other stuff in it,
it's not going to do you anything.
No, it's just you're just going to work. You're just going to fill it with more stuff and not do what you really want, which may be go on a vacation or spend time with your family. So it's like there's and
then you'll come to a point where you're fed up with that stuff and you'll let all of that go and go do the things that you want. And you won't have any of that. And then I think that's one in real estate world. I think that's a roller coaster a lot of people ride, is they go up and then they get to the top and they're like, oh, I'm going to go do the things I want. And they stop doing the little things that are getting them those results. And then they go right back down the roller coaster. And then they're like, oh no,
they've lost momentum.
And now they got to come figure out how to get back up. So now they're cramming. And so they go through cycles of, hey, I'm doing really good now. And it's the feast or famine mindset.
Right. And so that's the whole leading your others and your business, because you really can delegate almost anything.
Yeah.
Which can free up your time. I have a daughter who has autism, and I was doing like a webinar the other day, and my daughter, so she doesn't have social cues very well. She doesn't know social cues very well. So she just walks in the middle of me on this podcast thing. And she says, Dad, I'm hungry. And I'm like, okay, Piper, but I've got some other stuff going on here, And she's like, I know, but I'm hungry, and I'm like, okay. So, well, we'd just gotten this box of food with recipes in it, And so I said, hey, what would you like? How would you like to try one of those out? So I finished the podcast. She comes back in. She has this whole meal made because of the delegation. But you have to delegate the right way, not delegate, not dump. Right? There's a difference. And so I talk about creating recipes, how to create recipes so that people will actually do what you want them to do, and they do it. So you can go on vacation and not worry that your business is going to, just like you're talking about, right? That is a part of it. That is a thing that can really multiply your time, is learning that one process.
Well, and I think I think that is huge. Being able to delegate through recipes or actual like handbooks and plans to where people can easily, like if I have a question, I used to when I had my insurance agency and I had people underneath me, I had a question deal. So every time somebody asked me a question, I just threw it in there because I knew if they're asking me this once, they're probably going to ask me this 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So what I'm going to do is go put it in the folder, put the answer in the folder. So if they have that question, they can go in there and find it.
Exactly.
Because it is so much easier for me to answer it one time. And then now everybody that comes through, they get to see that question, and I'll explain it to them if I need to in person. But at the end of the day, I used to very well try to teach them, how can you find the answers to your questions?
Yeah. Yeah. Anytime you do have a question, right? Or anytime you do something twice is an opportunity for creating a recipe.
Yeah.
Or to automate it. So it could be delegated or it could be automated. Yeah, and that's another thing we could just spend a lot of time talking about, right? It's like, how come people don't do these things? How come they're doing like I wanted them to do it? We get frustrated. I don't want to spend the time creating those things. So, I mean, there's all kinds of things around it, which is why I get paid. You were talking about, the reality is I give away everything that I have.
Mm-hmm.
But some people would like help. So I love to give people a plan that they're going to be able to achieve in the next 90 days, let's say. Some people would like help with getting there. It's the nuances. It's in the right order. And it's like, that's why I get paid, right? It's not the content. You can get the content anywhere and everywhere, but it's just all, trying to find the right thing at the right time is frustrating.
And when you run into those obstacles, who's going to be there to help you? Like, you get to step 3 and you're like, oh my gosh, now something from step 5 is you want to skip. Oh, well, I'm not really focused on this one. So then they try to skip steps, and then they don't ever go back. And it's one of those things where there's value in having somebody in your corner.
I don't have time for that anymore.
Yeah.
Figuring it out.
No,
My life is too precious.
and why do you, I've always wondered why people are constantly trying to recreate the wheel. Find out whoever, if you've got somebody that you admire, which if you've got something in life you want, you've seen it somewhere. Mm-hmm. So somebody has it that you know has whatever you're looking for in life.
Right.
Go find them, figure out what they did to do it, and then go do it.
That's step 4 for me. I call it the picture puzzle support group. So, you can try to do the puzzle without the picture, or you can find somebody that knows the picture, and you could just get it done so much faster, right?
Yeah.
So
they've already got the answers to all the questions, and if you add value to their life, they're going to love to help you out and add value to yours, whether that's through a coaching program, through compensation, or if you just have a mentor. I think those are huge as well because they want to see you succeed.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's a way to, something, maybe your audience would be interested in this. If they want to text me, I wrote a book called Focus. Mm-hmm. I have ADHD. So it's hard for me to stay focused. I put a quote on there. It's like my mom said, if these principles can help you, they can help anybody, Chad. I said, thanks, Mom. But for me, focus is following one course until successful, right? And so I wrote a book on this, but in it, I do talk about mentors and coaches and their difference, because there's two different things those are two different things. Correct. Slightly. Now, I sometimes wear my coach hat and sometimes I wear my mentor hat, depending on what I'm, doing with people. But anyway, that's if they want to, if the audience would want to text me, I could give them the chapter on knowing the difference, because I think that is helpful. And then knowing how to ask mentors the right questions so that you can even get more out of your mentor. Well, so that's a big thing too. And to value them, how to value them as well, because we don't usually do that. It's like, give me.
And just take. And I want to touch on that. But since you brought it up, I want to give our viewers, how do they get a hold of you? If somebody's listening to this and they're like, I think he could help me. Yeah. How do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, appreciate that. Thanks. My phone number is 816 Kansas City, 816-582-7276, 816-582-7276. So they can text me. I'm not going to answer the phone, but you can text me or leave me a message, and we can kind of go from there. The other one would be, you could probably get on my my website. I have several websites, but the one that it's not completely, I'm actually just redoing my website right now, so this may not be a good one to give you, but it's Chad Earhart. That's my name, Chad Earhart, like Amelia Earhart, .com. And there's probably a way to get a hold of me on there. I'm hoping.
Yeah. Well, and hey, I mean, the easiest way to get a hold of you is text you. And I think that's huge. If you're looking for somebody that's going to add value to your life and add that piece that you feel like you've been missing, you feel like you're on that hamster wheel and you're trying to figure out, how am I going to get out of this and find my real purpose and then go through these steps, I encourage you to reach out to Chad, because just we sat down for coffee. I ran into somebody that was, from Canada, that was like, hey, I think you should meet Chad. And I was like, okay, awesome. And then as soon as I met you, I was like, I think this guy's going to add some value to some people that I know. And I instantly thought, hey, I'm going to bring him on here because it's going to be huge. And if you're listening to this and you need somebody to help you get through those steps, I encourage you to reach out with him. That's interesting that you had said that you have ADHD. Mm-hmm. Just having that in general, I know a lot of people that have struggled with that, and being able to get through it to a point to where you're coaching, that is huge. And you should feel proud of that, because that's something some people let it control their life the entire time. And being able to coach and help people with having that's hard.
Yeah, it's a strength. I love coaching. It is my favorite thing. It's what, it's kind of one of those things. If I'm having a bad day or a bad week, I usually will just go. Now, I sometimes will go read something just to kind of get me back into it, or I've got some songs and music that help me. But 9 times out of 10, I just try to go find somebody that will let me coach them. And then I'm re-energized.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's how I give back to the world.
Yeah.
It's part of my purpose is to live free and help other people break through and be fulfilled.
It's one of those things where if you can help people, it's a ton of joy. It's a ton of joy helping anybody accomplish anything.
I needed it.
Yeah.
I need it all the time. I still need it. I need a coach needs a coach. I need help.
Yeah, because life's hard in general. Life is hard, and that's one reason why I wanted to bring you on here too. Is because I know people, when you're looking at moving to the Kansas City area, and you're looking at buying a new house, or you're looking at going to a new area, or if you're here and you still feel like you haven't tapped into everything that's Kansas City has to offer, that's hard to do. And finding people around the area that can help you overcome that. If you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to grow your business and you need somebody to help you with your why and how to do that, how to manage that, that's what these interviews are for, is to help people find those people that are going to help them take their life to the next level.
Yeah, for sure.
That's huge.
Reach out to Dylan.
Yeah.
He's a helper. He's an added value guy, people.
That's what I try to do.
That's why I'm loving here. And I'm so grateful to meet you, because I've had realtors that did not help me very well. We've all had people that don't help us. So it's hard to find the people that really want to help us, So
I'll tell you ironic story. The other day I had, and people all the time I'll be working with them and they'll be like, I know what you're going to say, but I'm going to ask you this question anyways. And I'm like, okay. I mean, throw it at me and we'll see if I have the same answer that you think I'm going to have. And he called me up and he's like, I know what you're going to say. Because you already think the value's there in the house. But my lender told me that I could waive the appraisal. And so because I'm putting enough down that I can waive the appraisal. So what do you think I should do? You think I should save that $500, or do you think I should do the appraisal? And I hesitated for a second and I said, well, I'm going to be honest. With your personality and the way that I know you wouldn't be able to sleep at night if you do waive it, pay the $500. It's worth the peace of mind. And he goes, what? And I was like, that's not the answer you thought I was going to give you? And he's like, no, I thought you'd tell me, yeah, save the $500. It's pointless. And I was like, no, you won't be able to sleep at night. Just do it. Like you'll be so freaked out that you overpaid for this house. Like just get the peace of mind. And he started laughing and he's like, thank you. I was thinking that, but I felt like I shouldn't spend the $500 on it if you, and I was like, I'm not going to tell you to waive anything, for one. And two, I know your personality and what's going to help you.
He's shitting on himself, right?
Yeah.
I should do this way, or, versus
yeah.
What do I really need?
And one thing I've always told people, and I always live by, is if I know something's going to give me peace of mind, I've spent money on worse. So I might as well do the thing that's going to give me the peace of mind, because then I'm going to be able to sleep better at night. And so it was just funny that you talk about where somebody sees that as an opportunity. Oh, I can get this deal done faster. And I don't have to go through an appraisal, because there is situations where an appraisal could come back. I mean, heck, the appraisal could come back and we could have issues. But at the end of the day, if we have issues on that, then I just made a client for life as opposed to a client for a transaction.
I had a crazy situation happen. I was looking for a house here in Kansas City and felt like we needed to get it done fast. I only had like a day to figure out a house. So I run through all these things, came to one, got it, only looked at it for like 15 minutes. Just kind of, you can see this is not good, right? So I'm just like, sign off, Well, it ends up that So then we started looking back at the reality of it, and it's like all of the appraisal was not like giving us good things.
Yeah.
And it was, most things were covered up, so you couldn't even see some things.
On the inspection, once you got the inspection, it was pretty hairy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we didn't even put an earnest money down on it. So then a week, 6 days goes by, and I'm like, we decide we're not going to get this house. And he was like, the realtor comes back and he says, actually, they're not going to let you out of the contract, and they want more money.
Oh gosh.
Never heard that before. So I'm like, are you serious? So first of all, the details are really important. Hey, make sure you do the right things and all of that, and I'm glad we did in part. I probably did pay a little bit I didn't need to pay, because I didn't even put any earnest money to start down on it. Anyway, we're off track here, but
no,
I'm just saying that's why it's important to have, I felt like in some ways it was hard for me to trust my realtor. It's also was kind of hard to trust that whole situation. I came in 2008. I bought into real estate. I did a lot of real estate investing, and at the worst time, 2008, and I just like tanked after that. And everybody I felt like was against me. I mean, and it wasn't that they were against me. I mean, literally, it was bad. I mean, I won't even go into every single facet of the real estate industry. There are shysters.
There is, and
not all of them.
But
there are some, right? And so you need to have a good guy. That's all I'm trying. My point is, we need a good guy out there that you can trust.
Well, and I value myself on being somebody that people can trust.
Yeah.
And bringing people around that they can trust as well. Now, with that, there is a lot of training missing in the real estate industry. That's one thing I've noticed since I got into it is there is a lot of stuff where agents don't know, like where you're talking about with earnest money. Well, our contract states that you have to, if you don't fill in a date that gives you, the state of Missouri gives you 10 days, but if you don't mess with it, most of our contracts say 3 days. You have to have that turned in by 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, then you're not acting in good faith of the contract. So that's an issue that you're saying, hey, I was 6 days in. Well, the chances are that's probably where they're thinking what their frustration was, hey, they really weren't going to buy this property anyways. They never put any of the money down.
Yeah.
And then you get into a pride situation where now you've got a person that you're not seeing them as faithful, and now they're not seeing you as faithful.
Right. And then it's like, oh, no,
and then you've got
this is not a good situation. Yeah, for
and
sure.
It's one of those situations where I have that situation with an earnest money. We went and deposited the earnest money. Well, then found out that the bottom of the check had been cut off. So I had to go pick it up, and then I've got to take it back to the buyer, have him take it back to the bank so that they can give him a new one, so that I could take it back over there. And in that whole process, it comes down to you got to be open with other people, because I'm talking to the other realtor anxiety. And I'm like, hey, we're not going to meet this deadline on putting this in because I've got to go do this. I've already put it in, but they couldn't cash it. And it was a big old deal. And he's like, hey, no worries. Appreciate you calling me and letting me know. And it's stuff that's that simple, talking to other people. You have to be able to do those type of things and be open and not hide stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway, we are, I really thank you for coming on here and anything. Real quick before we go, what's your elevator pitch? Why should people come to you to be their time guru and help them get their life back?
Well, if it's to come to Kansas City, in the last 30 days, I have been to not 30 days, it's now about 45 days. I've been to 30 coffee shops in Kansas City. That has nothing to do with time management.
No, and that's one thing I completely forgot about. But we got into conversation.
It's a great thing to know about Kansas City. Is there some really cool coffee shops here? And I have just been traveling, enjoying relationships, getting to find different cultures of the city. And anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I just thought it was a funny thing I should share. My elevator speech, what is it? I help you get 10 hours of your life back every week, and help you achieve your 1-year goals. And if you don't even know what those are, that's where we start.
And I think that's huge.
So you need to get the clarity.
And I want to take
confidence.
What you said before you got into your elevator pitch and show the viewers a little bit about why I connected with that right there, where you're talking about, you're doing a piece on the different coffee shops in the area about what they have to offer, what you've valued in them, the internet, and you're doing this entire analysis on it. If you're doing that on coffee shops just as a hobby, imagine what he's going to be able to do to your life and your business if you're an entrepreneur, and how he's going to be able to help you manage your time, because he's going to deep dive into it and say, this is everything about it and why you should, how to build that plan out and everything for that. So if the dedication alone to going and visiting each one of these coffee shops, because there's some bad ones and there's some great ones, but going and visiting every one of the coffee shops in this area that just shows you how much dedication he's going to give you to your business and your life and help you get those 10 hours back. So I really encourage you, if
have too much time on my hand.
That's a good thing. It wouldn't make sense for you to be the time guru if you didn't have that time on your hands.
That's funny.
So I really encourage you. Now, I appreciate everybody watching this podcast. And if this is your first time on the channel and you like this video, make sure you hit that like button. Then also hit that follow button, and then hit that little bell so you'll get future notifications of any of the interviews we're doing, any of the neighborhood reviews, or any just of the real estate tips about moving to the Kansas City area. I'm your guy for any real estate needs in the Kansas City area or anywhere in Missouri. I'm licensed in the state of Missouri. I'll be able to help you out, help you find people that are going to help you out along the way as well. I really appreciate everybody watching. Chad, thank you for
what a joy. Thank you so much, Dylan.
As well, man.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.